Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for returning so promptly. I'd like to take us on now, please, to another distinguished, prominent journalist, clinician, and commentator, and that's Mandy Saligari, who's going to talk to us specifically about the addiction as a contributory factor to the issues we've been addressing. She's the clinical director and founder of Charter Harley Street, which delivers services based on addiction and relationship issues. In addition to that, she's a regular and familiar face on the BBC. So please welcome Mandy Saligari.
Great, thank you. Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great privilege to be here, not only to talk to you about addiction, which is my favourite subject, which is why I have lots of time to do public speaking, because I don't get invited out anymore. It's actually true. But also to support Place to Be. I think Place to Be do an extraordinary job. And as I've sat there today listening to all the speakers, I've added about 40 things I want to say which I can't say, so I just have to put them away for a moment. One of them which I would like to say, though, is in addition to being clinical director and founder of an addiction treatment centre, which is an intensive outpatient programme, because I am a great advocate of working with what's going wrong in society, in the context of your lives, and not separating things up. I love joined up thinking. It's also because I speak a great deal at schools and have done since the mid-90s. I talk about addiction, I talk about self-esteem, I now do parenting for prevention, and I do some teacher training. I work in the independent school sector. And in the early 90s through to when I launched Charter in about 2008, I was doing around 150, 200 talks a year. And now I do more like 80. Just in case I forget to say it, I just want to say this right now. When I do those talks, and I stand up and talk to 200 15-year-old boys at 8:30 on a Monday morning to do a drugs talk, which is just brilliant, thanks very much for giving me that deadly slot, I find that there's a huge response once the teachers have gone, actually. But there's a huge response, and there are two things I want to say about this. One is that when people come up, and about maybe 18, 20 kids will come up to me after a talk like that, and they'll say, how can I talk about this? Who can I talk to? And I'll say, have you got a school counsellor? And they'll say, yes. Will you go? No. Why? Don't feel safe, don't trust her, don't like her, whatever it is, the resistance to go and see the school counsellor. My experience of that is profound. And the idea of having an organisation that's got a number of people and is a place that you can go where you can make a connection, but it's not going to see one person in perceived power behind a closed door is a brilliant model to support children of any ages. And I think kids need to talk. I know kids need to talk. So that's one thing I really want to say. The other thing I want to say about school talks is when I go in and say, right, you lot, let's go to talk about drugs. How many of you have tried drugs? Hands down. So I'm like, okay. Who here is the rock? Who's the nicest? Who's everybody's friend? Come on. Who's everybody's friend? Who's the confidant? Who's the one that everybody talks to? Who's the one that everybody relies on? And they'll start to shuffle and you'll be like, okay. It's me. And somebody else will go, it's me. Okay, and there's a few of you, and they're like, yeah, and you're the confidant, and you hold the secrets, and people talk to you, you're the nice person, yeah, and they go, yeah, okay. Because let me tell you this, your friends are high risk. Because a high-risk individual, in other words, an addict, and I'm going to introduce you to what that looks like, and then again to what that actually is. A high-risk individual is unlikely to take responsibility for themselves, so they want someone like you as their proverbial dustpan and brush, getting kudos from sweeping up the pieces. So by finding the rock in any social group, I'm going to flush out the addicts. High chance of that. So when I am doing intervention and prevention work, that's one of the routes that I'll go. And I'd like to look at this condition in a much broader way than it's often described in. What I want to start with is saying, what qualifies me to do what I do? Yes, I'm a clinical director. Yes, I've worked in addiction for more years, maybe 15, 20 years. I'm a therapist. I've got a master's. I tick all those boxes. I am also a recovering addict. At the age of 23, I had the first signs of a stroke. and collapsed, and my psychiatrist, who I ended up in front of, said, if you don't stop using, you'll be dead before the end of the year. I started crying. She said, you know, you okay? I said, no, I feel sick, I need to go to the loo. She said, okay, well, it's just down the corridor on the left-hand side. And I went down the corridor, past the door on the left-hand side, out the double doors, down the stairs, out onto the street, into the tube, along to South London, where I knew a guy had some coke, went into the pub, took a couple of lines, came out, had a few drinks, and sat there with a load of people going, you won't believe what happened to me today. And surprise, surprise, the company I kept enabled me. Oh, Mandy, you need to stop taking so much gear. You're a one, you are. Buy her a drink if you heard what's happened to her. And I went on an almighty bender for another couple of weeks. Now, I come from what you would look at and think was a nice middle-class family. We were miserable. And really importantly, when I talk to people about this and about this experience, people say to me, you know, what were you angry about? And I can think of all those times. I can think about my mum and my dad arguing and me stepping out of the family home in good old outdoors, East Sussex, and walking up the hill thinking, I'm out of here, age 13. And I'm walking up the hill and this car pulls up beside me and my dad winds down the window and says, where do you think you're going, young lady? And I sort of look at him and I'm like, what? And he said, well, you take one more step and you are never coming home. I'm a teenager, right? My dad looked at me, looked ahead, went to the top of the hill, turned around, drove back, didn't even look at me. And I stood there and thought, now what am I going to do? And I ran away to London, and it started a long career of running away to London. I was pretty. Boys liked me. Easy gig. And I'm bright. I slipped through the school system. I went to see the counsellors. I sat there in the office and said, oh, please don't bring my parents to parents' evening. You know, they're just having such a bad time. And I know I've not been here, and I'm so sorry. I'm really going to try to put it in. Please don't tell them I've not been here. And the counsellor said, all right. All right, well, as long as you promise that you and I have got an agreement. And I'm like, right. Because the one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to give this up. This is what keeps me safe. But safe from what? Do I have a childhood of massive abuse? If I were to bring my parents in and put them in the dock, would you all commit them as guilty? No. Unlikely. You'd feel, whoa, gosh, they were unhappy. Everyone can list the crimes against their parents. My belief about this is actually, what happened to me is that I didn't know how to deal with powerful emotion. I'm a powerful individual, frightening. This is me clean, right? On coke, drunk, with a bloke in my sights, I am terrifying, right? And as a teenager, my mum used to leave out Daily Mail articles and the page would flutter to open as I walked in the kitchen and she'd be like, la, 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 at the sink. And it would say something like, cannabis causes depression. And I'd be like, just talk to me. Now, once I got into recovery, I said, why didn't you talk to me? She was like, I'm scared of you. Actually, I hated her for that, but actually, I kind of get it too. I didn't know how to cope with anger. I didn't know how to cope with love. And crucially, my strapline was, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Why should I care? Do what you want. I don't care. Because I didn't know how to care. I didn't know how to care. What's that about? So I had a mum who said, don't worry about me, let's worry about you. I had a dad who was a big grown-up child. He wasn't a bad man, he was immature. I found out later that he'd suffered horrific abuse at school. I found out after he died. And my mum and dad got together, fell out of love, shut down. I actually grew up thinking I was half French because my mum used to speak French at the kitchen table to exclude my dad. So the fact that I knew embouteillage meant that I was French. Brilliant. Later I discovered that this is a strategy to exclude my father, which I'd engaged in. I had massive contempt for men as I grew up. And I ate them alive, spat them out, and swallowed my disappointment forever. Now my mother, who's a wonderful, wonderful person, still believes that codependence is just good manners. Now, codependence is conditional giving couched as unconditional giving. That's actually what it is, in a nutshell. The experience of being loved by a codependent is excruciating. Now, my mum will pick up the pieces for anyone, drive the car for anyone, do anything for anyone, at all. But believe that you would actually like to see her, real problem. So, there I am, I don't know, 15, 16, come and see my mum, knock on the door. Hi mum, I was around, thought I'd come and say hello. Oh, come in, how lovely to see you. I've only got about 10 minutes, but I thought I'd come and say hello. Oh, let me go make you a cup of tea. No mum, I haven't got time. No, I'll just go make a cup of tea, it's fine. No mum, it's all right, I don't want one. No, it's no trouble. Click. Do you want some cake? No mum, I'm not staying for cake. It's okay, I'll be fine. Well, it won't take me a moment, I'll just get some. Mum, I don't want any cake. No, it's no trouble. Oh my God, why did I come? Mum comes through. Here's your tea. Oh God, thank you. I'm just going to get your cake. Mum, I don't want any cake. No, it's no trouble. Here's your cake. Mum, I don't want any cake. Oh, okay. No, it's okay, I'll have it. No, it's all right. No, it's okay, I'll have it. No, I'll have it! We sit down. Mum looks at me. You seem very tired at the moment, Mandy. Why does it not occur to my mother that I might want to come and see her? Because I love her? Have you got any idea how annoying and frustrating the duty I felt as a child that I was supposed to be a success? Mandy's going to go on the stage. Mandy can do anything. Mandy's so bright. Fiona's so clever. Look at these two brilliant children who are a product of this marriage that's so miserable, so unhappy, and so hidden. And I did not know how to cope with my anger. So perhaps predictably, boys, daredevil, boundaryless. I discovered drugs, tried everything, got into coke, had all sorts of interesting career choices, and ended up falling foul. Now, what I know about this illness, because I believe it is an illness, and I believe that I have a family predisposition, I think it's shape of brain at birth, I think there's traumatic event, and I think that there are environmental factors, is that it manifests in these ways. It manifests in the left-hand side. These are the things that people call addiction. They're not. They are the manifestations of addiction. If you're a gardener, you know that if you slice off the top of the buttercups, right, it looks like you've got a nice clean lawn. Take a cross-section and you've got one of the most complicated root systems out there known to man. One buttercup, several thousand roots. Drugs, one buttercup. Core characteristics, and this is where the work is. Now, when we look at treating this condition, yes, we've got to have abstinence, but actually, abstinence, with the greatest respect, is the easy part. Maintaining abstinence is the hard part. Once you have gone down the road of repeatedly using something in an attempt to fix how you feel to the detriment of yourself, it is very difficult to go back to controlled using. I am not an advocate of harm minimization. I do believe in abstinence. But I also believe in early intervention. I am also a parent. I have 3 small children. I know addiction runs through my family. We used to run estates in Scotland. I can barely afford a ride up there now. This condition goes all the way through. And the silent carriers are codependence and the adult child of the addict. If your parents, if you grew up in an environment of active addiction, you will not get off scot-free. End of. You will experience authority figures as people you cannot trust, but you will feel protective of them. So you will end up unable to ask for help. It will get in the way of your ability to ask for help because you will not want to be made vulnerable to the disappointment you experienced when your parents were or caregivers were not able to take care of you. So we already have an issue there in terms of self-sufficiency, the child that will struggle behind closed doors and will find it humiliating to ask for help. That is the ACOA child. However, unfortunately, the underpinning of that is insecurity because they do not learn in a relational way. They learn from inside a box, protected. So we have insecure, self-sufficient, hero-type person, obviously out there achieving, doing very well apparently with no needs. Now this person is going to attract someone who goes, you know that insecurity, I can fix that if you'll just take care of me. And along will come the codependent, sweeping up the pieces, buying into the rewards of being with somebody brilliant and capable, and they will feel important because of the insecurity. And then they will have children. And when they have those children, perhaps the hero might go out, they might drink, they may get a bit out of hand, and that codependent goes with them and props them up and eventually becomes a bit annoyed. They feel betrayed that this person's gone out drinking, having a good time, and they don't appear to need them in that way anymore. And when that parent goes home and the child asks for something, the child will get one of two answers. They will either get, "Can't you see I've got enough on my plate already?" Child feels shame. Or they'll get, "All right, what is it you want? Sorry, what did, another glass of water? All right, and then you'll go to sleep." Right. And the child feels guilty. So the child thinks, not going to ask. Now these are subtle, but they are vital because this is how the condition carries. You do not airdrop into chronic addiction, crack, heroin. You don't airdrop there out of nowhere. Oh, look at the addiction over there. You don't. You travel through the core characteristics in order to arrive there. This is what we treat in the intensive outpatient program. This is what needs to be treated in rehab centres. But more than that, this is what needs to be incorporated within a parenting for prevention program. When I do teacher training and we look at the politics in the staff room, we're looking at a mini family. When I'm working with parents, we're looking at a family environment. All these family environments can work with, control the addict, the vulnerable person. Their mission statement is, I will not be vulnerable. So they will do everything not to be vulnerable. If they hurt themselves, if they walk down these steps and trip and graze their knee, they will feel humiliated. But they may want something, they may want comfort. So what they'll do is they'll go, "Oh my God, those stairs, they're appalling. I nearly died." They'll exaggerate to get the attention. Or they'll limp and somebody will say, "Are you okay?" And they go, "Oh, no, it's okay, I'm fine." And they'll minimize, but they'll get the attention. But get it from saying, "I just fell down those stairs." No, because it makes them vulnerable. This stuff is so subtle. So for parents, for teachers, the stuff that we do is around keeping somebody in the present. You can only work with someone in the present. If they're in denial and they're not quite in the present, they're in an altered version of themselves, then you're not actually going to reach the person. When you're trying to teach someone and you say to them, "Read this chapter and then I'll talk to you about this piece of work," and they say, "Oh, it doesn't work. I read the chapter before. I didn't get it. I just can't do it." And they say, "Read the chapter and then we'll do this piece of work." "But it's not going to work because last time I did it, and anyway, the exam's next week and I'm never going to do it." You've got somebody bouncing from yesterday into tomorrow. As a teacher, you need to hold your boundary and keep them in today. You need to keep them in the right now around the chapter, right now around the work you're going to do, because only in the present can you really do anything, certainly anything with anybody suffering from these conditions. And I could go into a great deal more detail, but I won't. What I will say is that resentment is the biggest driver of relapse. 80% of relapses are resentment-driven, ressentir, to feel negative effect over and over again, and expectation, in other words, shoulds and if-onlys. They drive the feeling of disappointment and they feed resentment. Now, what I know about my team is that we work with high-risk individuals who are hell-bent on making it our fault that they fail because they're so frightened of being vulnerable. I also know that teachers are a high-risk population for carrying other people's distress and other people's pain and other people's problems. My team have supervision. Does yours? I think Place to Be provides an extraordinary opportunity to support schools, kids, parents, and it's not one person. I'm the hero, clone me. It is an organisation that is a model that is scalable, replicable. It should be in the independent school sector. It should be across the board because it's a principle. So when people come into treatment with me, for example, we change our therapists every day. And when I provided this model, my colleagues were saying, why? They need to make an attachment. And I'm like, no, they're going to make an attachment to the principle of being able to come to a group and share how they feel. They are not going to make an attachment to me or to a particular therapist because then I will own their recovery. I don't want that. I want these people to have their own lives, and I suspect you want your children to have their own lives too. One last thing, if I may, is to tell you this thing on the right-hand side. I just want to offer you this. Without the thing at the top, when you say no to someone, you will be all at sea in terms of, we talk about boundaries, keeping boundaries. People talk about boundaries as if they're going to be a marker. Sorry, I've just gone into your slide. There's a quick preview. There we go. Wasn't that exciting? Okay, so there's a boundary, and people look at a boundary as if that's going to keep me safe from you. I'm going to try and control you with my boundary. I don't believe that to be the case. I believe that boundaries are like a strong GPS signal inside someone pulsing out, so that people, the greatest gift you can give to someone is letting them know where they stand with you. And in order to do that, you have to have a nourished sense of self. You have to be in good shape yourself. And I think that clinicians, I think that teachers, I think we are a neglected population, or can be. And I think it is of primary importance that we take care of ourselves. And this also goes for parents. Dignity and self-respect is what we advocate in all the parents that we work with. And I run a group every Tuesday night. There's 20, 30 parents come to this group every single week. And we work on it over and over and over again to get themselves into a position of self-care. Yes, worry about me so I can worry about you in a healthy way. So I've got something to be generous with. Because when I say no to one of my clients, to one of my patients who comes through the door, what I see immediately is what the parents can't cope with. So the patient says, can I take a day off this week? And I look at them and I think, here we go. And I go, no. And what I'm going to get is exactly what gets them their way in their environment at home. They may go straight to anger, they may go to sadness, but I see what the parent can't cope with, because what happens in the home is this. The parent is washing up. Child comes in and says, Mum, I want to go down the shopping centre this weekend. No, you can't. What? I want to go down the shopping centre this weekend. I just want you to drop me down there. No, darling, we're not going to do that this weekend. But everybody's going down the shopping. Everyone. I don't believe it. I hate this house and I hate you. It's just that I'm going to be so left out. I try so hard. And I just don't know. And at this point, Dad might come in. Don't you speak to your mother like that. I'm like, no, darling, it's all right. She's just up. Well, you don't seem to be able to keep any kind of organisation in this house. He's shouting from the other room, and there's Sophie causing all sorts of... No, shh, quiet, please, darling. And Sophie's like, yes, brilliant. Dad goes out, Mum's across... Sophie's like, I'm so sorry, Mum, for causing that. I'm really sorry for causing that problem. I know I shouldn't have asked to go to the shopping centre. It's just... Can I help you with that? Yeah. It's just that if everybody's going... But it's okay, I understand if I can't. All right, darling, look, I'll tell you what, we'll talk about it later. I'm sure we'll be able to get you to go. Charlie. Brilliant. Because the people I meet don't have acceptance. They have life on their terms, not life on life's terms. And what I try to teach parents, and what I want to tell you, and what I tell my clinicians, is it's very, very important that when you say no, it's not just no means no. It's like... I've thought about it, I'm saying no. If I don't know, I'll say I don't know. And if you push me, I'll say no. And the child will go through a grief and loss response. And you need to be able to sustain that. Because when the child, blissfully, a heat-seeking missile for what it wants, kicks against the parent body, it needs you to be in good shape. It needs you to be strong enough not to go, ow, shame, or, oh, right then, falsely empowered. This child was me. Boy, I was dangerous. I work with a lot of people who are here, acting in, acting out. Coke, alcohol, boys, self-harm, eating disorders, acting in. Now, the mistake people make is when they get to point 5, by the way. So you say no, you sustain it, your child cleans up, goes upstairs to her room, comes back downstairs and goes, actually, you know what, I understand, you're completely right. I shouldn't have caused that row. I was completely out of order. I'm really sorry. What I've thought about is if I tidy up my room every single day, and if I do my homework, and if I help you in whatever it is you need me to do, would you reconsider? I mean, I don't mind what you ask me to do. Honestly, I'll even take the dogs for a walk, and I don't mind helping my brother. If there's anything I can do to help you, it would really be great if I could do this. And then I'm just going to go and apologise to Dad, and I'm going to do the same. Goes off to Dad. Goes away. Dad comes in and says, I've just seen Sophie. She was, she just owned all her behaviour and apologised. And she said that this is what she wants to do, and she's offering to do. I think that's quite good, don't you? And Mum said, yeah, you had amazing ability to negotiate. And she really understood what she did, and she really meant, sorry, yes, well, tell you what, let's reward that. Yes, let's say yes. No, don't say yes. No. What you do is you say, good, I'm really glad you know that was wrong. Excellent. It would be great if you could help out around the house. Could you start by laying the table, please? Thank you. Brace yourself. Shock, denial, anger, sadness. Coming all the way around again. But what you need to do is you need to remember you are not a foot soldier. Get off the floor. If you're a teacher, if you're a clinician, if you're a parent, you are a general on the hill. You are not down there on the floor with them. You need to be telling them, it's okay. I don't need to rescue you. You are strong enough. I can hold you. I can support you. I can see where you're going. And I am now teaching you nothing to do with the mall, nothing to do with the shopping centre. I'm now teaching you acceptance. I know what's going on. You may not. And I am prepared for you to find me horrible. That's okay. Why? You don't dictate who I am. Why? Because I have dignity and self-respect. And I think that's our greatest challenge, actually, is in our parent body, in our teaching body, and certainly in the clinical body that treats this condition, is making sure that people are in good enough shape to give a clean message. So I just want to thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about my favourite subject here. And again, actually, reaffirm the fact that a body such as Place to Be in a school makes more difference than I think actually is visible, because the problem is held. So thank you very much, Benny, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.